Hello, it's been a while, and in that meantime, I once again changed the name of this podcast. It's now called On the Rack. Third time lucky. There's many good reasons for the change. The first being, on balance, it's probably not great to have profanity in the title if you want to be listed in search results. Who knew? So I'm saying goodbye to the era of chat shit, get banged, and ushering in the age of On the Rack. This is a music-filled episode and thus was a joy to edit. I first came across Alex Hitchcock last year. He's a New York-based, London-born leading voice on the saxophone and distinctive improviser on the international stage. He's been described by The Guardian as a virtuoso saxophonist, and his innovative collaborations have confirmed his growing reputation as an instigator and catalyst for captivating musical encounters that continually push the envelope a little further. According to BBC Jazz World, he has ridiculous technique and harmonic proficiency combined with progressive creativity that sees him leading the charge in terms of new jazz music being created in the UK. So I got all that from the Ronnie Scott's website, where he'll be playing on the 2nd of October. I didn't actually know how acclaimed he was before setting up the interview. It's only researching with the show notes that informed me. Basically, I heard and liked his music, thought this is a mad genius if ever I heard one, and now here we are. I've put all the links to the music in the episode show notes, and I'll hope you'll take a listen to the songs at length and even buy an album or two if you feel so inclined. This tune you're hearing now is from Alex's Dream Band London Live album, recorded at the 606 Club, and was Jazzwise Editor's Album of the Year 2023. Alex, you just got off your flight from New York into London, and you've graced me with your presence. So I was going to ask you firstly, so you're in New York usually, you live there with your wife, and obviously we've got this, for whatever reason, the whole world is thinking and talking about Mandani, or is it Zoran Mandani? Yeah. And as you're a New Yorker, is the buzz just online, or is it, on the streets as well, in the cafes and stuff like that?
That's a good question, and I'll happily confirm that it's definitely in the streets as well. But basically every bodega has a Zoran poster up. Really? Everybody's talking about it. A lot of friends were canvassing for him. Oh my God. I kind of thought in retrospect, I should have got involved in that, but I guess because I know I can't vote. I felt a little bit disengaged from it. But then I felt like I kind of had my cake and ate it, because then when the primary happened and he won, I felt great.
Regardless.
I got all the optimism from it. So,
yeah, that's the right word, isn't it? It's just a bit like optimism. But I have been thinking, though, it's his smile. He has got one of the loveliest smiles, and it looks like, his whole face smiles. Yeah. And he just seems to like people, which is actually important, because if you look at the bunch of people that we have over here, they don't actually seem to like people, and that is strange to me.
I think he comes across as like someone that likes people, as you say, but he also comes across as like sincere but also funny at the same time. Like when he does, because obviously he's trying to get a lot of his messaging across in 30 seconds, and he's still quite substantive in that format. But then he's done things like, did you see he got Madder Jaffrey on like his old rap song?
Actually, I did see it.
He got her to swear at the camera.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So he's obviously like,
he's a fun-loving kind of thing. Yeah. It's hard to it's going to be hard to smear him as like a not decent person, but they're going to try. They're going to try the best. Yeah. I mean, they did all right. They did it with is it Jamal? I'm not sure. Bowman. He was a senator or rep for a while, and they threw a load of money at his opponent, and it's gone.
I guess that was one of the really heartening things about the primary, the fact that they realised maybe 2 weeks out that he was such a threat, and they poured I don't quote me on it, but I read $25 million in total in attack ads. Wow. And it didn't really touch the surface.
Touch the sides. No, it's all good. Cool. Well, I'm glad to hear it's in the streets, just not just on the sheets. Online.
I know where that's coming from. Okay.
Anyway, so Alex, tell our audience who you are and what you do, if you don't mind.
I'm a saxophone player, saxophonist, people say, but I try and say saxophone player, saxophone owner and operator. And I write music as well. And recently...
You're a composer as well?
Yeah. And recently I've produced a bit of music which has felt good. And I'm from London, and as you say, I'm living in New York at the moment. I'm doing a lot of backwards and forth.
Transatlantic. We've been trying to get this together for about 6 months. You're always somewhere here, there, or everywhere. So it's nice to get you in front of the mic. But so you produce as well. I've always wondered this: when you produce, is it a matter of they come to you and you decline or say yes, or you go to them? Because what if somebody who you really don't like asks you to produce and you think, oh man, I need the money, let me see what I can do?
That's a good question, and I'm not trying to turn your podcast into an advert, but I would say I've never yet said no when someone's asked.
Don't worry about the advert. I'm going to be putting little clips of your your songs in this. This is, there's a whole music soundtrack to us going on
cool.
now.
Oh, right. Well, that's a nice idea. Yeah, like I guess you like self-produce your own recordings a little bit, unless you have budget, which is sort of not always the case in the world that I operate in. You don't always have budget for an extra producer and stuff like that, so you tend to self-produce. But it's the records I've done of other people, when there's been a producer in the room, that's felt really valuable, especially when it's like possibly been a slightly older or more experienced musician that can kind of get you to approach takes in certain ways and stuff. So I've kind of started doing that a little bit for younger musicians. Actually, I did it for like a former student of mine. I say I did it for, he kindly paid me, but did it on the album of a former student of mine, and it's just a different way of like approaching a recording session. Some producers. So
do you have your own studio, or do you have to hire it? Because that's going to be a massive cost if you do the latter.
Always a hire. Like I've got a few friends in London who, in a very DIY way, have set up their own spaces to record. And actually, in a weird way, like getting hold of a grand piano can be easier than one might. Sometimes people are giving them away for free on Facebook Marketplace.
Actually I have seen that.
Need to get rid of them, and you can do a bit of restoration work and stuff. So some people do, but most people in my world don't.
God, I haven't seen the grand piano for ages. I used to do music up until I was 18 and got the playing on a grand piano compared to an upright is just like one of the most amazing things. But when I was in primary school, we used to have a piano tuner come in every now and again, and they were always blind, which I found like.
Is that right?
Because I guess the hearing is a bit more attuned or a bit more acute, so that's why. I don't know if that's what happens now. I don't even know if there is many grand pianos around anymore sort of keyboards and stuff.
Yeah, like I guess venues, especially in jazz, like venues with a really good grand piano are like the really coveted ones and stuff. It's interesting about the tuner. How did you find
I'm quite old. I'm a bit older than you, I think, so maybe that's a long time ago. I'm not even going to say how long, because
I wouldn't. How did you find the piano when you were learning it?
So it was interesting. So I started playing instruments when I was about 6 or 7, and I started with the cello. Nice. My primary school was really like pro music instruments. I was so lucky, really lucky. And so I started with the cello and did that for years, and then went on to the piano. So I already knew the sort of bass, the reading the bass, and then learnt. And already knew from playing the recorder, which is where you always start, I think, as a primary school teacher for the right. So it was quite nice. And I kind of, I played that for years and did exams in it, which I hate. So eventually stopped. But I was going to ask you, actually, so then, how I first came across you. Basically, I'm going to tell the story. I'm going to do the talking, please, and then so I think, as so often with my interviewees, I meet them somewhere on Twitter, find them interesting, and then here we are on the sofa a few months later. But I think you'd retweeted me a couple of times. I noticed your profile. You had a little bit of a professional profile photo or something. I thought, oh, he looks interesting. Looked on your profile, and I think your pinned tweet was just like 2-minute 20, which is the maximum sound of you playing a live gig. Listen to it. I fucking I love this. This is great. And so, went on to a music platform, which I won't name because I don't want to promote it. But anyway, I went onto a music platform and I looked up that song, which took me to another song. I think it may have been Cakeism or Rio. Nice. And I love that album. I think, what is it called? Live in London.
Just basically. That's it. You got it.
Yeah. I just love that album. But what was really interesting, I mean, we were talking off mic about algorithms. So from listening to yours, I think I got recommended somebody called, I can't even say his name probably, but Sphinx, J-S-P-H-Y-N-X. He's like a sort of jazz and drum and bass fusion.
I think his real name is Johnny Wood, and maybe he's a great trumpet player. I think that's
I think he's he seems a little bit from the streets, and I love what he's doing. But that was an algorithm recommendation from there.
Nice.
And then from there, I had an algorithm recommendation for Joe Lacerda. No? All right, I'm gonna WhatsApp you some tunes, but it's great. And then I think I came across a collaboration that you did with Ant Law, which is Don't Wait Too Long. I think you did that in 2022. And I was walking along South Bank. I had a friend's leaving do, and I was walking along South Bank quite late. I think it was about 2 or 3 in the morning, and listening to that, and I just thought it was beautiful. Is just all these 3 people I found out, from your pin tweet to this person to that person to that person. Do you guys know each other? Is there like a saxophonist, trumpet, jazz musician, WhatsApp, Telegram sort of channel where if somebody dies, there's condolence in it, or how did you play that, man? That sort of thing how do you keep in touch with all these fantastic musicians?
There's definitely a real openness to kind of supporting each other and learning from each other, which I know sounds a little bit trite to say, but it is completely true. It's funny that you say about a WhatsApp group, because there literally is a WhatsApp group of all the sax players in all the sax players in London. If you can't do a gig and you need to kind of find someone, but in person people are really sweet, and it feels like
community.
Yeah, it really does, and it makes people very easy to play with and easy to get to collaborate with and stuff.
Yeah, because I was thinking, was it last year? Is it Herbie? I forget his surname. He's a double bass player. He died, and I put up
Flowers,
and I put up a little thing on Instagram, and got 1 like and 1 comment. I think nobody knows this guy, and this is who's celebrating. I mean, there was a bit on Twitter, but not much. And I just thought maybe you get celebrate each other, not when you die, but when there's a good.
Yeah, well, not just in the jazz world. We're terrible for that in general, aren't we? Only doing the celebration after someone's
literally
died.
Giving the flowers once they die.
Yeah, totally. I think people are a little bit more proactive about doing it while they're alive, especially with jazz musician elders, when people know that they're not going to necessarily be around for that much longer. You go to their gigs, you carry their bags, you listen to because you want to hear their stories. You're not doing them a favour, it's the other way around. Herbie Flowers, I think, taught my good friend Joe Downard bass, by the way. So there's all these
connections.
Everyone knows someone who knew someone, kind of thing.
And I didn't sort of grab on it when you said, so you teach as well, because you produced on your students' album.
I mean, at the minute I've been doing a bit of teaching of like undergrad students, and I've actually got to teach abroad a little bit, like kind of normally undergrads and stuff, which has been really good, and also makes you think about how you're doing things and why, and also
it makes you better.
It just makes you a little bit more reflective on like why you play in a certain way, and also like not trying to force every lesson to be the same. Like you might teach 8 undergrads over a period of like 9 hours, and like they all want something different. Someone wants to go and be a session musician, which is cool and great, and someone else wants to put an album out influenced by like David Lynch films and stuff, and it's like how do you talk to them in a way that's actually going to add something rather than just reinforcing the way they're already thinking, you know?
Yeah. And so what is the name of the title of a class you do, or are you saying specifically teaching them how to play the sax?
Yeah, I mean, this is just like instrumental one-on-one sax teaching, but I mean, you end up doing a bit of professional development stuff as well. Like,
okay.
I guess I'm 33 and I've
you are younger
had a few, I can't be by much. I've like, you know, done a few gigs, so like sometimes they want to get you in as someone who's like not too far removed from their age group, and like, okay, well, how do you like what do you do when you come out of college? Obviously coming out of college is a whole thing in and of itself, you know.
Absolutely. Well, for me, I'd always thought I was going to be a musician. I told you,
Right.
you know, I played the cello, then the piano, and then eventually at secondary double bass. And but the only reason is because I had this wonderful teacher. The only teacher I remember is my music teacher from secondary school, Mrs. Harris. Like right. the only teacher I remember their name at least, and her and how she treated me and how she encouraged me. Because so I did GCSE and A-level, but when I came to GCSE, I'd had enough of the cello, and I couldn't play the piano in the. I had to play in the orchestra as a GCSE, and so she said, "Why don't you just try the double bass?" I was like, "Well, could do." And there's one sort of really broken down double bass in in my secondary school, which had notches off that somebody kicked it or something, I don't know. And she just basically gave it to me. She drew lines where the notes are E, A, D, G, and she said, "All right, go off and practice, and then come to orchestra." And I ended up doing that, then going to the jazz band. And it's just you don't get many teachers just encourage you just to go off and do that, and had the faith in me that I would be able to do. So
really cool.
who are there any influences like that in your life?
Oh man, I mean, yes, from now and from the past. I've been really lucky with my sax teachers. I started with great British alto player called Katie Brown, who was really not the only thing she's into by any means, but she was particularly into bebop from the 40s, Charlie Parker. She was into Cannonball Adderley, Phil Woods. So I felt like I really got schooled and got a good grounding. And then if I'm thinking about someone now, I don't know if you would have heard of the great pianist Kurt Lightsey. Piano scene, played with Dexter Gordon, did this ridiculous touring, and now lives in Paris, and I've been playing in his quartet for a couple of years. He's mid-80s, but the sort of support and love that you feel is ridiculous. I haven't really felt that from anywhere before necessarily, playing with an elder. So just as people have that influence on you in different ways.
I don't think it's unique to music having a mentor, but there is something special about it in some way, because you don't do music and do years of practice unless you love it. So I guess you're both, whoever's coming together are coming from I love this thing and I want people to love it and I want to play my best.
Totally, and he's been through it in a way that I just haven't as well. So he's coming at it from a different perspective from me, but despite that, he's never been remotely anything other than just welcoming, encouraging, beaming on stage. None of that. you kind of hear about tough love and how that can be a macho thing
that film,
through the jazz history. Can I swear on your podcast?
You can on this one.
I'll keep it. I'll keep it
Oh, Whiplash, that was it. Yeah. Oh my God, that's horrific. I've only been able to watch it once. It was so horrible.
No, I've not seen it.
Oh,
I kind of made a point of not watching
it. It is literally, it's a horror film about like learning how to play music and playing in bands, basically. But so I gathered that you started, however, in music with the violin and singing. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just thinking. So as I told you, I used to play music when I was younger, and in the choir and so on. But then years ago, I had an ex-boyfriend. Well, it's now ex, and so we would occasionally go to his family home in Worcestershire. He had his grandfather had this big house anyway, that doesn't matter. But they had a tradition at Christmas where they would all sing madrigals.
Oh, right, okay.
By sight. Mm-hmm. And I thought about it. So I would sit around and we would all sing, we'd get the books and we'd start singing. And I was lucky enough I was able to do it because of my music training. But I thought, sorry for any girlfriend who turned up after that having to do that. But is that the sort of thing you were singing when you were younger, or how did you get into it?
I kind of just, I don't know, it's just just sang in choirs and stuff like that, and always was a treble rather than an alto, which is why I think on the saxophone I kind of gravitate to higher melodies register now, because that got really ingrained as a kid. But that kind of thing. It's funny that you say about the madrigals. My wife, Ryan, she says that she can't sing. I think she can sing as well as anyone else can sing. But she used to live in this railroad apartment in New York with our flatmate was an actor, so there was a piano in the room because she was always learning songs to go and do auditions, and we sat down and did the thing at Christmas of me hacking through some Christmas carols while we both sang along, and it was her favourite thing. And it was, I'm so dreadful at piano, but it's kind of
sight reading.
It's almost like the end product isn't the thing that matters in that thing. But I bet it sounded good when you did it, because you actually trained.
Training is exactly the right word, but yeah. And you played because I've always wanted to be able to play the violin. I don't know why I never did it when I was younger, but I don't know if you've heard, this is a violin player called Hilary Hahn. And she's amazing. Literally, I listen to her and there's this Paganini she does, and I start crying at a certain bit. She's so cute. But so do you carry on? Saxophone's your biggest thing, but do you do any others?
Absolutely not, no.
Consumed by the saxophone.
Yeah, kind of. I have to have decent enough piano to be able to write a bit, but I don't know. Maybe you found this with one of the instruments that you did, or maybe not. But I could tell which one I had an aptitude for.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the learning curve for the sax to start with is actually shallower, or I don't know whether I mean shallower or steeper, but what I mean is it's easier to get quickly to a point where you sound okay, whereas with the violin it kind of took me ages, and I could just tell
it wasn't for you. That was me with the cello,
right,
as well. And I even at A level we got free music lessons, so I tried the trumpet.
Oh, cool.
It's fucking awful. It was really bad. It's really frustrating because generally bad? I mean, this has been disputed, and somebody told me anyway. I think my lips are too big to play the trumpet.
Play the trumpet?
Yeah. Though I've been subtly told you can get different sizes, but obviously we didn't have them in school. And then, after that, when I'd so frustrated, because I could usually play any instrument, so frustrated, so I tried the trombone. And I could play it. It was like a lot easier.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't like it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So you know what you like after
Yes,
a while.
that's the thing. Like, if you have a bit of a, I don't know, like emotional connection to the instrument, you're going to want to practice it more, and then that like self-perpetuates.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. Like for me, like double bass was the most fun because I never did
cool.
exams in it. I
Yeah.
just played with other people.
And you were self-taught. to
Yeah,
start with.
self-taught. I wasn't great, but like I was enough to play in a orchestra and the level of our orchestra and this little jazz band thing.
Yeah.
But it's still, even now, that's the only instrument I go back to just because it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how many people have played the sax at some point in their life. Like, if meeting a stranger, it's not something I lead with, but like if it comes up in conversation, like so many people have like picked it up at one point or another. Because I think it's like there's quite a high financial barrier to entry, but like there's a low technical barrier to entry with that instrument, I think.
And so would it be similar, like, I have absolutely no idea, but some, you know, you have classes of families of instruments and so on. So could you now pick up the trumpet or the oboe and you'd be able to generally get a sound out of it?
Trumpet, I'd say definitely not, just because of it's like a solid metal mouthpiece, whereas the sax has got a reed strapped on. So I guess that's a different. And then the oboe's double reed, isn't it? And everyone says the oboe's really hard. Give yourself a hernia if you play it wrong. It's trying so hard. Could maybe do a bit of. I have done a bit of bass clarinet, which is quite fun.
Yeah.
But it's not it's not as easily translatable as one might think.
But do you get frustrated, like, because you're obviously a very, you know, accomplished musician? Do you get frustrated if you try something and you're not able to do it immediately?
Do you mean in life in general? Or just
yeah, this is an existential talk. Right, let's get deeper. No, I mean in instruments.
I think it's a longer conversation, but like definitely over the last couple of years, the musicians that I've been exposed to, I would say in New York, have made me like slightly reevaluate like what I think is important on the instrument, and that is, I still think technique is important, but like if I can't do something, then that might actually end up making some sort of interesting extended sound on the instrument, versus like just being able to execute everything that I hear in my head. Just more than one way to. How do I
can
say
imagine from listening to that, it sounds like you're a good improviser, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you want it all to be improvised. Even if you're playing like a written melody, you want, you know, the tradition is so strong that like it's always an interpretation of that melody, unless you're playing really strictly like written material kind of thing.
And what is the sort of balance of that? Because you seem to do a lot of collaboration. Is it a matter of you go into the studio and you jam, for want of a better word, or is it all written before, or what's going on there?
It's a good question, because like previously it would be quite predetermined, only to the extent that like the written material would be predetermined, and then there would be a given space where it would kind of be agreed beforehand that people would be improvising like maybe over a set solo form. But what I've kind of got into more now is getting into more of the free improvised spaces where you don't go in with any written material at all, and you don't have an agreement about what it is that you're going to play, and you just improvise. You might be working from prompts, someone might bring in a bit of text or a bit of poem or a bit of an audio recording, but you're not like reading off a chart kind of thing.
And do most of the musicians you come across, do they read music?
I'd say the majority do, yeah. I mean, to be honest, the majority have probably been through some sort of jazz school. Not by no means everybody, but like such is the scene now, and the way and the type of people that make it through into the scene. Like a lot of people have been to jazz school.
So your what was it, Live London album? Was that, you know, pre-written, or did you, or was it a matter of going into the studio and practicing and coming up with that?
So that quite deliberately was, I'd sent the music that I'd written to the musicians a couple of weeks in advance, but we did 3 recordings over 3 consecutive evenings, and we rehearsed for each gig on the day, because I just wanted the music to feel fresh, and I totally trusted the musicians that I'd booked. But I guess it's an interesting one, because you have to take ownership of the fact that you've created the musical situation that everybody else is then like obliged to operate in. But then within that, like, how do you share as much creative control as possible? How do you leave enough open space in the music that the music can breathe properly, and people can do things maybe that you didn't necessarily originally want as a composer, but that's, in principle, I think being open to that is kind of the part of it, because you're asking people to come and play it because they're
good.
There.
Yeah, exactly. So you trust them already, and you know that they've got the abilities to take it to higher heights. that right? Is that a term?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, higher heights and like somewhere else, just somewhere else that you didn't expect. And I think it's important not to be controlling about that, even if that might be in some other corner of your personality somewhere else,
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. There's a lot of control. You can't be a control freak in music, or specifically jazz, I should think. 'Cause otherwise,
I guess some people and I'm not calling them control freaks in any way, but like someone like Art Blakey, who had like the Jazz Messengers, and that would be a rotating thing of like young musicians coming through, kind of getting schooled in that band, but schooled on the road rather than schooled through an institution. He clearly had a very specific idea of how he wanted his music to sound. They rehearsed a lot, and he gave them pretty clear instructions. So there's definitely that part of the tradition where like people are, I think, where people have a specific sound that they want, and they will rehearse a band until it plays that way. Obviously, who am I to argue with Art Blakey?
yeah, indeed. So yeah, where did you record those gigs?
Oh, that was at the Vortex Jazz Club in Dalston, and yeah, that was 3 consecutive nights in 2022. In front of an audience, and then just took the takes that were good. And I was kind of thinking I'd put one album out, but the musicians played so great on it that it was a triple album, just because there was like a lot of good material.
Yeah, I can vouch for it completely. So which venues in London or even New York do you favour? Where's the crowd like the best?
That's a good question. I like the Vortex in London is good, and like they're making an effort to draw in like a broader, more diverse audience. Like they've got a queer jazz night now, which is like actually weirdly it shouldn't be, but quite unusual for London. And so I think, in addition to being quite supportive of one specific side of the musical scene, like the Vortex is quite conscious of like wanting to branch out, bring people in from overseas a little bit. So I like that club a lot. In New York, there's a club called Close Up that I should give a shout out to, because they're always saying that they don't necessarily get much feature in media, and it's musicians supporting them, but they're musician run, not musician owned, and they've just taken care of business. They're like slightly Gen Z, I guess, in the way that they know how to like make it all look really cool on social media. And every so often, like someone with a big TikTok following like comes and sees a gig, and then like the club kind of blows up. But it's they program really adventurously. They have a jam session pretty much every night, which is really unusual for being explicitly like quite inclusive, and they like make announcements at the
start. When you say jam session, is that like open mic for spoken word type thing? Because that can be a bit up and down, some of those things.
Well, it's like,
if you're in the audience.
No, I think you're exactly right. And like one of the reasons for that is you get like rows of usually male saxophone players like lining up to play for ages, and they kind of go out of their way to be like, think about this space that you're in. You're sharing this space with other people, and it's actually really unusual to have that space in a scene as kind of hustly as New York. So I would shout out Close Up in New York for any of your listeners that find themselves there.
Well, I mean, in that case also, so I was thinking on my way here, well, I don't go to many festivals, but years ago, I went to a trumpet festival somewhere near Stoke Newington.
Okay.
I don't know if they do it now. I think there's some trumpet abroad. There is. But what are the best sort of music festivals to go and listen to jazz and stuff?
In this country?
Well, that you've played anywhere. Global kind of people.
Well, just keeping it for a minute to the UK, just because it kind of tends to be what I know. Like I would say the Love Supreme is really good, and they have like quite broad programming. They book in big headliners, like I've seen Shaka Khan there, I think. But then they have like local musicians from Brighton as well. The Brick Lane Jazz Festival.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, that's quite a new one, and like I would say, Jazz Refreshed, if you've heard of that, has started operating out of there. Jazz Refreshed.
Actually, I think it's on. They've got an Instagram account. That's how I keep up with most musicians.
And I mean, they like. I don't want to say launched the careers of, but they were the first ones to release the music of people like Nabaya Garcia, and like they're tastemakers, but they're also like really fostering a community. So like Jazz Refreshed have their own festival, Brick Lane Jazz Festival.
So there's no sort of, some people say, oh, this is dying, that's no. There's no chance that jazz is dying for young people?
It's a good question, but I just think if you ask musicians, they don't tend to think it's dying, and if you ask audiences at the moment, like, they don't tend to think it's dying. And that, again, like, to go back to that Close-Up Club in New York, like, it's a pretty young crowd, and it's specifically a crowd that doesn't seem particularly like I don't know, like, real hardcore jazz fans, but they go because they know that the programming is good, and then the music can be really weird and far out, but you've kind of got them in, and because it's like the whole thing's so well done and the musicians are so good, holds people's attention, and people kind of engage with it maybe more on like an energy level, a vibe level, than like actually what's being played. But I mean, that's pulling people in.
Well, I mean, I think you said you're in your 30s, and I think the same with Just Finks, however you say the name, and Joe Listrada, and I found that quite not the usual jazz that I've listened to before, the ones that my brother has forced me to listen to.
Really?
It's just, I don't know, there's something new, fresh, and like interesting. I mean, even with Jinx, the drummer bass fusion thing is just interesting. So maybe the new generation, if you still call yourself that, is taking it in another direction.
Not for me to say, Sam, but it's for you to say, and I feel like you just have said it, so I'll take it.
So recently, there's quite a sort of, I don't know exactly a household name, but a lot of people know his name, Nicholas Brittle, because he did the soundtrack for Succession. He's also done a couple of things for, I've forgotten his name, but anyway, the film If Beale Street Could and so on. He's like, you know, you don't often find film composers becoming household names, but so I was thinking, if you could ever, in a film that's been broadcast or whatever, screened before, is there any film that you would have liked to have scored, or anybody you'd like to work with?
Well, the film that particularly comes to mind that I would have liked to have scored was just because I thought that the score was so brilliant. But have you seen Nickel Boys? It's an adaptation of a Colson Whitehead novel.
I've seen clips and it's beautiful. Yeah.
It's pretty harrowing movie, but visually really beautiful, and the score is fantastic, and like super slow burn as well. So yeah, I actually tried to not rip off, but I went into the soundtrack of that movie and tried to kind of learn about what they'd done there, because it seemed to go so well. And also, like, because there's moments of light in that film as well, and I think the score really reflects that. It's like quite somber, but there's real like delicate beauty in it. I'd really recommend it.
Well, it sounds like there might be a film composing in your future.
I would love that. Yeah.
I came across this woman who's a scientist, I think she is. Let me see. She's a black, Jewish, queer woman, an assistant professor in theoretical and astrophysics, and an LA Times Book Prize winner. I forget her name, but she said that if you want your kid to be good at STEM, so science, etc., get them playing an instrument. The pattern-finding part of my brain is never more activated. Just one of a bunch of reasons that art education needs to be free and available in all public schools. She's American. So all children get a chance to play. I went to a LAUSD performing arts magnet for 7 years, and it helped me into being a better scientist. And so your kid may never get into science, but if they've got music in their life, they've got beauty, discipline, the ability to learn from reading and listening, and the creative outlet that will support their psychological well-being for life. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's lots in there that you could comment on, but just thinking about kids' education and so on, what would you say about that kind of quote, and do you think she's right?
Yeah, the thing that stands out the most is maybe the bit about pattern recognition, because I guess you kind of don't realise what an important skill that is until you get a bit older, and you maybe don't realise the way you've always been doing it, but like haven't quite realised how you've been doing it. And I think like you want to, in both like literal and abstract ways, like you want to be able to draw those connections across, like whether you're a musician and you're doing it across different art forms, or you're doing that thing of like hearing the music in boxing or whatever, or you're actually like researching, kind of as like I've been doing in the last like few years, like kind of researching a little bit more about the history of the way that jazz has been presented and the way that it's been imported from the US and stuff like that. Like you have to be able to draw those parallels with your own work in order to work out how it applies, I guess. So it feels like a really important skill for people to learn, particularly given the way that music is taught sometimes can be quite regimented. So if you're like teaching that independence of thought that's kind of coming through creativity, that's kind of coming through like picking up a bass and like not necessarily knowing how to, well, I guess you had cello before, but like teaching yourself
it's different.
how to do
It's very different. I don't know if people know, like the double bass is more akin to the bass guitar. It's the same thing turned over, basically. So I could play the bass guitar because I played the double bass.
Yes.
So when I lived in Uganda for a bit, me and my ex, the same Madrigal guy, we used to play in a band down the road, just like jamming with people and stuff, and then tried to go a bit professional, did a wedding. But literally, I played the bass because I could do it because of the bass. But yeah, I found that her quote so interesting because the pattern recognition, I kind of use that when I do my work in journalism stuff, and then, but also what I found. It's a bit of an aside, is I think music playing, it just helps you be able to multitask in your life. Because if you think, I don't know how well you can play the piano, you said you can sight read the piano, but like for me, you're doing about 7 or 8 things at once. You're like playing 2 like melodies in your right hand, 2 bass lines, maybe you're using the pedal, you're reading both clefs or 3 clefs if you can do the viola as well. You know, and that, just being able to do all that and separate your parts of your mind so you're able to do it. And then within that, you have to recognise the patterns so that you're able to sort of float over it. Because, you know, it's impossible to read everything and do everything at that time.
And I think also then doing that, you know, orchestrating that around what you're doing with your various limbs and stuff, but also like integrating that into what other people are doing in a band as well, and like being able to simultaneously be aware of what someone else is doing and maybe a third person is doing and what you're doing, and also building tolerance for like not everything has to be completely consonant. Like things can be dissonance can exist between those 3 things that people are doing, and like I think having a level of comfort with the unknown, again, if that's not too trite to say, and like kind of trusting what someone else is going to do, and things like, especially when I've been playing more free recently, like if someone plays a certain rhythm or a certain melody, like one might think that the supportive thing to do is then to play that back to them on the saxophone, but like actually no, a more supportive thing for the music as a whole might be to totally cut across that, so long as you're not doing it in an overbearing way, and play something that's complementary rather than imitative. So I think you're like building that tolerance of like some form of plurality and dissonance like is really important. And again, like if you could teach that to kids, that would be really good.
And then she said it doesn't mean you're going to be a musician or a scientist, but it just helps you in different areas of your life. But I think there was something that you said that reminded me of this is quite a traumatic story, but I'm going to tell you. I don't know if my audience want to read, but like quite a few years ago now, some friends of mine said, you know, you should go on the dating apps type thing. I wasn't with anybody at the time. I was like, oh, I hate those things. But I thought, let me try it. And so I went on, I can't even remember the platform. It's not one of the trendy ones, but so I was on it for about a week, and I had some, you know, weirdos come up to me and blah, blah, blah. I thought, right, let me take the bull by the horns and like, let me be proactive and look for people myself. And so I wasn't finding much, but I found this guy who looked, I don't know, he was all right. But he was interesting because he said he really likes the opera, which I like all music, more or less. I'm very obsessed with Led Zeppelin at the moment. Nice. But, yeah, it's so good. But then in his little thing, he said something about counterpoint. He said, counterpoint. And so so I did A-level music as well. Which is where I knew I was never going to be a musician, but there was only 3 of us in our class. I think in the year below there was only 1 person. And so counterpoint is something which I'm sure you know is something you only do in exam environments, basically. And it's very dry. So I'm explaining it to the audience rather than you. I'm sure you know exactly. But it's very dry. It's like, because what I loved about A-level, the only thing was performing, you know. But for counterpoint, you do in exam conditions. I think what it is, you know, they give you a few notes, you sit in a room without any stimulus, you have a pencil and some sheet music, and you just have to write a concerto or something like that. And it's the most stressful, evil thing in general, but for a musician it's so dry and awful. And because he'd mentioned it, I thought, there's so few people who would know what that was. Let me go and, like, you know, write to him and said, opera, counterpoint, isn't it awful? And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm not interested.
Oh, blimey.
You know, I thought, you know, so few of us, we might get on, but it didn't work. So
better off without him.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I quickly went off the apps since after that and haven't been back on. But I think there was a question in that. Let me find it. I mean, is it something you've done? I guess that's the best question. I guess I just wanted to tell that story.
Yeah.
The counterpoint.
The counterpoint, not the dating apps. No, like it's interesting. Like I'm not particularly like schooled in that way, and I totally agree with you. Like just getting because it's normally a kid to sit in an empty room and like write counterpoints as an exercise is super dry, especially if they kind of don't really know why they're doing it. One thing that has actually surprised me a little bit is some of the more creative and like open-mindedly creative as well. So like not really kind of writing in regimented ways or in boxes. Like some of the more open-minded creative musicians I've met recently actually tend to practice in these extremely boxy and disciplined ways, kind of restriction being the sort of mother of invention kind of thing. And actually they will sit down and they will, like on a bus ride or on a train, just by ear, like write a 4-part fugue or something. And if they don't have perfect pitch, they don't know what it's going to sound like. So I guess you're kind of...
And not many people have perfect pitch either.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I guess you're kind of combining that very regimented approach with like embracing random chance, which I kind of quite like as an idea. So I think it's probably a discipline one can use to one's advantage, but like...
I mean,
maybe not as a kid who doesn't have a choice. No,
exactly. You're too young, you know, distracted with other things. But I guess, again, the audience, whether they know or not, there's like the diminished seventh and the augmented things or whatever. It is good to have that grounding to be able to do it, but it's still incredibly dry just to have to do it in exams. And I stopped doing exams in piano when I think 6th grade or something. I kept going on, but I found them so stressful. The anxiety of it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's the best way for people to learn to keep just being examined in music specifically.
I would totally agree with you. I don't think it is. And also I have friends who like have learned stage fright, I guess, because from the pressure that they've inherited either from their schooling or from their parents, and it affects your relationship with your instrument in a potentially lifelong way if you start associating that kind of stress and worry and pressure with like being able to perform or being able to compose. So I would agree with you. There's probably better ways of doing it.
Yeah. And so you're only in London for about a week, is that? Are you going to be? Are you playing anywhere that anybody can go and see you?
Yeah. If this is out in time, I'm playing at Pizza Express Soho, the downstairs jazz club on the Monday the 14th.
Okay. Sorry, would you Pizza Express? They do.
Every time you tell someone you're playing at Pizza Express, they're looking at you like you're playing in the corner. Are they going to put a little stage up for you? But it is actually a legit jazz club that just happens to be underneath a Pizza Express restaurant on Dean Street.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be nice.
Dean Street. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is that the one Ronnie Scott's? Is it on that road?
On the parallel street. Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's Monday the 14th.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you'll allow me, in the interest of like being completely fair between all the clubs, playing at Pizza on the 14th, playing at 606 in Chelsea on the 17th. Ronnie's on October the 2nd, which is an album.
Do you know, I've never been to Ronnie's.
Oh, you should come.
The other day, I spoke
yeah,
I think I might try to. My sister-in-law the other day, I rang her and she said, "Oh, sorry, I'm at Ronnie Scott's."
Very nice.
You didn't invite me,
yeah,
so it's
still
about time.
Yeah. So you could tell me you were there.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got the 16th, 17th, and the 18th. Is that it?
Yeah, something like that. Basically, just all of them and the Vortex. In
okay, I'm going to get all the details from you.
No favourites.
And then put them in the no favourite. Yeah, in case anybody's listening. Okay, well, I mean that is amazing. So I guess what we're going to do is come to a close. But before we do that, we are going to do Mad Geniuses.
Oh, yeah.
The little section that I mentioned to you and kind of prepared you for, because I don't like putting people on the spot. So for people who haven't listened for a while, Mad Geniuses, where I ask my interviewee, my friend on the couch, who they consider to be their 2 mad geniuses, which could be from any field, film, literature, engineering, or even banking, I suppose, if you could have a favourite in that. But so Alex, who are your 2 mad geniuses?
How long have I got? So basically, I was thinking about this on the flight, and the first one I thought of was Ma Rainey, who's a singer from about the 30s, I think. The reason I thought of her was because I was watching this Bessie Smith biopic, and she was kind of like Bessie's mentor, and they toured together for a bit, but then they fell out, but then they kind of came back together. But Ma Rainey used to play in the clubs and stuff, and she was like like an early queer jazz musician who would sometimes like dress in male clothes and stuff in the type of way that has been completely like brushed out from jazz history since. And I think people are only now just like trying to start to excavate that kind of person. And she, I don't know, she was like very expressive of who she was and her sexuality.
Went out last night, had a great big fight. Everything seems to go wrong. I looked up, to my surprise, the gal I was with was gone. Where she went, I don't know. I mean to follow everywhere she goes. Folks said I'm crooked, I didn't know where she took it. I want the whole world to know.
You get this historical look at jazz where it's like born in a brothel, in inverted commas, and then it kind of has this, again, in heavy inverted commas, path to respectability, to like institutions and universities and stuff, but then like not, like they're having their cake because they're saying that, but then they're not giving the people any credit. Like Ma Rainey's not as big a figure as she should be. Yeah. She wasn't particularly well known to me.
Ma Rainey, M.A. and then
Space Rainey.
I've heard about this. She was the guitarist, yeah?
She always had a guitar with her. I don't know whether she played herself. But I don't know. So
Yeah,
she would
we
be my
don't
first
know
one. I
enough.
don't know whether I would describe her as mad, but I certainly would describe her as disruptive in a way that we need more of. And then the second one, to give you a modern example, is a incredible drummer, composer, producer, scorer called Tyshawn Suri, who's based in, I think he's based in Philly. He's definitely based in the US somewhere. And again, not sure I'd call him mad, but he's a certified genius because he got that MacArthur Genius Grant. So I thought that would,
Stamped,
exactly. I thought that would tie in. But he's the thing that I notice about him, he's got this album called The Susceptible Now, where he's got takes of like 22 minutes where they just sit on one groove for 6 minutes, and you can either play that groove in a really specific way or you can play it in a completely over the time way. He like has the option of both, and I've never heard someone play as loud as him. As I saw him on a gig with Vijay at the.
Okay, he's
at the
playing now.
Village
This isn't
Vanguard.
historic.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's current, and he's doing that thing of like using incredible like lengths of volume for effect kind of thing. It's like quite a thing to see in the room.
Oh, wow. So repeat his name for me. So
Tyshawn Suri.
Okay. So you just remind me. So there's this 25-minute track I love. You know Fela Kuti?
Yeah.
Confusion.
Right.
Have you ever heard
yeah.
that? So, I mean, it's so long.
Yeah.
And just like you're with it. Like, where's it go? Where's it come?
But a different listening experience for that length, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. I don't agree with short albums or short songs.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Well, Alex, it's been a real pleasure. I mean, is there anything else you want to like get across? I will get this out probably today or tomorrow. So if there's anything you want to, or anything. What's your latest album? Actually, I didn't even ask.
Oh well, I've got one coming in September that I recorded in the US that I think I'm announcing in a couple of weeks, or the label is announcing in a couple of weeks. So yeah, if it's going,
well,
if
we
the
won't
podcast
scoop
is
that,
going
but
out
that
soon,
sounds
then yeah, I'd really hope people would look out for that. But I don't, yeah, nothing else other than say just thanks so much, and like big fan of your work that I know a lot about. Yeah, particularly your work on IPP, but just in general, yeah, it's really cool that you were interested enough to have me on. So yeah,
well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for like literally getting off a flight and coming to meet me. So that's brilliant.
I enjoyed it. Thank you, Sam.
This last song is from Alex's collaborative album Folk Devils with Tom Barford. Together they're known as AUB. It's great to be back after a long break, and I hope to record more regularly over the summer, but best laid plans and all that. So see you next time.